Hi, welcome back to Straight Talk. We're talking about different kinds of programs and services to help those who are addicted, whether it's opiates or alcohol. Through this pandemic, we've seen a lot of people relapse. We've seen a lot more opiate overdoses. The problem is not going away. I now want to introduce a young man who his story is amazing and he's doing something to help others. So joining me is McCord Henry. McCord, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Great. McCord, tell us a little bit about your story, and then we'll talk a little bit about your new ventures that you're doing.
Thanks, Mike. So my story is probably like it started off very normally. I drank at the end of high school, and then I drank through college. It was never an issue, really. I was always a lush, but I never was out of control. It wasn't until after college that my drinking went from being a part of my life to being my life, and everything else kind of fell by the wayside. I went to college in Charleston, South Carolina, and after college, I stayed there for about 4 years. And I was not happy with my job, and so just drinking kind of became habitual. And every night, I would drink with my partner or whoever it was, and just always had fun with it. Unhappy, I decided a change of scenery would be a good solution to that problem. So I moved to Los Angeles, and a little bit of advice: if you have a slight drinking problem, don't move to Los Angeles and become a bartender. I moved there. I cashed out my 401k. I was there for about 9 months, and what was a drinking problem became a full-fledged addiction. Struggling, broke. My family intervened, and I went to rehab. I spent 28 days in a facility called Mountain Manor here in Maryland. And after that ended up with me in a 9-month program in Dallas, Texas. During this time, I convinced myself that I was not an addict. You can be depressed and be addicted to a substance without being an addict. And that was kind of my byline throughout the entire experience. After the sober living house, I moved to Seattle, Washington, where I had gotten a job as a manager at a restaurant. And I started drinking about 6 weeks after I got there. And I did well for the first year. I had kept my drinking under control. I drank every night, but it wasn't impacting my work. I got promoted. I ended up getting transferred to a property in California, and me and California do not mix very clearly. So I started drinking every day and almost to start my day. And my drinking became a part of my life to function again normally. And when I didn't have it, I would start seeing withdrawal symptoms, and friends and family found out. I ended up moving back to Seattle, and I got a DUI, and what you would think would have been a wake-up call was anything but. I started drinking as soon as I got out of jail. The company transferred me full-time back to California, and I was there from January 2017 until April. And during that time, I don't really remember much. I was essentially drunk every day. Life was blurry. I was dark. I could not be reached. It was supposed to be a power move and a promotion, and I was supposed to have this bright future with this company, and I ended up squandering it all. I got a write-up for falling asleep on the job / passing out drunk, and I ended up calling into work 3 hours before my shift one day and quitting. I went on a week-long bender. I don't really remember much from that time, and I woke up on April 3rd, 2017, and I called my brother, who encouraged me to go to the hospital, and I did. I checked into a hospital in Santa Barbara, and they had a great rehabilitation facility there. So I stayed there for 5 days, and I walked out, and I haven't touched it since.
And that was it?
Mm-hmm. That was it.
Do you have any recollection of what was going through your mind this time, when you went into this hospital? I mean, was it anything different, or you just reached that point where you were just sick and tired of being sick and tired, as they say?
That's exactly it. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. This time it was, I knew the end was coming, I think, and I knew that this was going to end up in one of two ways, either with death or, or 3 ways: incarceration or, me getting better. And I had a glimmer of hope, and I kind of latched onto that, and I'm very glad I did.
Well, congratulations for that, and for your being sober for a couple of years now. That's a good thing. Now, one of the things that you made yourself famous for now is that you've taken up running marathons, which I identify with. That's what keeps me sober and clean. running marathons. So tell us about how you got connected and how you made the connect between recovery and running.
So my first year of sobriety was what I would call gray. I kind of, I was kind of relearning everything, relearning how to walk, rebuilding trust, rebuilding relationships that I had, that had messed up essentially. And so it was about 1 year into my sobriety that I got my drive back and my zest for life. And I went from a 0 to a 10 in every aspect of my life. And I suffered for it. I didn't have a process or a way to check myself or to breathe. And during this time, I got promoted at work, and I just was very intense in all aspects of my life. And one of my good friends reached out to me and sent me a book called Heart Talks by Cleo Wade, which just encouraged me to pause. And so I read this book, and during that time, I also started running. And that's when I realized that, I can do something with my sobriety. So I started running every day, and the more I ran, the more I realized that I have something to say. It gave me time to focus on myself, to process things, and I realized that I can put more good out into the world.
And it really seems to have caught on. You're now running marathons, and you're running for the Partnership for Drug-Free America, mm-hmm. and they're kind of like sponsoring you running.
Yeah, so I ran my first. I remember I was running in Florida. I was running about 7 miles, and at the end of it, I was like, I can run a marathon. And so I ran my first marathon for Baltimore, Maryland, because this is kind of where I found myself again. It was for Penn North Recovery, which is a facility in Baltimore. It's a halfway house. So I ran my first marathon for them, and then I'm on year 2 now, and I'm running with, as you said, a Partner for Hope for the Partnership to End Addiction. It's an excellent organization that helps families and those that are currently suffering. So we were supposed to run for November 1st, but obviously because of COVID, the marathon's been canceled. So we're kind of...
It's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you come back again when we have more time to really get into the connection between running and what it does for the brain and all that. But I really want to congratulate you on making that move to, one, stop drinking. And running, to me, as I said, is the greatest thing I've ever done to keep me going and sober and clean. And we're going to look for you, in these races coming up. Hopefully we'll be able to run some races pretty soon. But congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. And we're going to check back with you at a later time and get you to talk more about running. So we're talking McCord Henry. Good luck, man. Keep running.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being on the show. When we come back to Straight Talk, we're going to continue talking about the different forms of treatment. People always want to know what's the best treatment for them. And we're going to talk with an expert and talk about those different levels. So stay with us.